sustainable air transport, strengthening aviation safety and security in Nigeria, designed to strengthen the aviation industry and its efficiency across Nigeria. Please share this space so that we can have all the people join us. So tonight we are honored to host the Honorable Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development for an in-depth conversation on the federal government's roadmap for sustainable air transport with particular focus on strengthening aviation safety and security in Nigeria. Ladies and gentlemen, please let me see your emojis welcoming the Honorable Minister Festus Kiamo, SAN. I want to see some emojis. Please, let's welcome him. Let's welcome him. Thank you, sir. I have sent you an invite. Kindly accept the invite to be a speaker. All right. Leading the conversation today is the Director General of National Orientation Agency, Malam Lanre Issa Onilu. Still having some difficulties joining us, but he will be joining us in the program. My name is Tolu Meduna, Special Assistant on Media in the Office of the Director General. Please share and invite others to join this very, very important national conversation. Honorable Sir, please kindly accept. We have sent you an invite to be a speaker. Please kindly accept so that we can quickly start this conversation. We know you're very busy and we would not like to hold you for too long. We have sent you an invite to be a speaker. Kindly accept it. Thank you, sir. Upon assuming office, rather, Nigeria Honorable Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development, Honorable Festus Kiamo, unveiled a five-point agenda for the aviation industry under the Tinubu-led administration. Number one, ensure strict compliance with safety regulations and continuous upward movement of Nigeria's rating by the ICAO, support for the growth and sustenance of local airline businesses whilst holding them to the highest international standard in the aviation industry. Three, improvement of infrastructure in the aviation industry for development of human capacity within the industry. And number five, optimizing revenue generation for the federal government. The aviation industry has experienced several changes, like the induction of digital technologies, setting up a committee to look into challenges facing the sector, new investments in radar modernization under the Tracon upgrade, inauguration of Armed Aviation Sector Security Unit to enhance security and combat illegal activities at the nation's airport. Nigeria's Airspace Management Agency, NAMA, recently rolled out multilateration system for terminal area control, which could lead to migrating Nigeria to full satellite-based navigation. Also, Ministry of Aviation has launched Operation Go Cashless to phase out physical cash transactions at the Nigerian airport. Nigerian Minister of Aviation, Honorable Festus Kiamo, announced on May 2024, that the Federal Executive Council, FEC, approved the cancellation of all exemptions for the very important personalities, VIP, regarding payment for access into nation's airport. And what this means is that mandatory payment for all individuals, including the president, vice president, are now required to pay airport access and toll gates fees. This will increase the aviation revenue by about 10 billion naira annually. And on the 2nd of December, Nigeria joined the League of International Lights, like Paris, Dubai, Singapore, etc., to host its International Air Show. The maiden edition of the Nigeria International Air Show recorded a series of key agreements, including partnership with the Isaac Bellamy University of Aeronautics and Management, Boeing and Cranfield University, aimed at setting the world-class maintenance, repair, and overhaul (MRO) facilities here, home, and abroad. So we can see that there are so many opportunities that that we have now in Nigeria through the aviation industry. Honorable Minister, sir, we're delighted to have you. Could you share your opening thoughts on the aviation sector reforms? Kindly unmute. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me loud and clear?
Very, very loud and clear, sir.
Yes, thank you for inviting me to this very important space. I just want to say that for us as a government, Mr. President was very clear when he came in, when we came into office, and he gave us our marching orders, some of which you have actually rolled out in terms of our 5-point agenda. Mr. President actually mandated us to focus on those areas, and not only in terms of developing policies to reposition the aviation industry, but also engaging in actual infrastructural upgrades of most of our aviation facilities and infrastructure across the country. As time goes on, we are going to go into the details of most of these policies that we have adopted in order to, one, promote our local airlines, preserve the aviation industry, return confidence, international confidence in our aviation ecosystem, which was actually very comatose by the time we came in. The international community had lost faith in the integrity of our local operators and even the system to preserve their equipment in terms of their aircrafts if they brought them into our country. And that was why our rating plummeted so badly to about 49.9% by the time we came in. But by deliberate policies and hard work by Mr. President, today we are 75.5% in terms of global compliance with leasing terms called the Cape Town Convention. So we are going to go into details as time goes on, but these are just the broad aspects of what we are doing in terms of repositioning the aviation industry.
Right. Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. So let's take a look at the infrastructure, airport, public-private partnership, that's the PPP, and the airlines. Nigeria's airports are undergoing phase modernization, runway, terminal upgrades, communication, navigation, surveillance, etc., etc. Can you share the exact status of this work ongoing, particularly in Lagos and Abuja, aerodrome certification renewals? So, how will they improve passengers' experience, particularly in the light of the government's plan for transparent renovation or possibly concessioning of airport facilities?
All right. So first of all, Lagos accounts for about 63 or so percent of all passengers coming into Nigeria. That's about the statistics, and also 60 something percent of the revenues that we also get from our airports. Lagos alone accounts for about 63%. That is how much it is. So we can then safely regard Lagos as our major gateway into the country. We have very important gateways too. We have Kano, we have Abuja, and there are two other international airports that are functional and two almost coming on stream. We have Port Harcourt, we have Enugu. These are the 5 international airports we met, and we have since upgraded Meduguri to an international airport. We're about to start operations there. And by Monday next week, I'll be going to Uyo. You'll follow it in the media. I'll be going to Uyo to also begin the process of upgrading Uyo Airport to an international airport, because they have all the facilities there to be upgraded to international airport. So these are the things we met on the ground. So for the president, he approved that the Lagos Old Terminal should be rebuilt, should be completely reconstructed, because like I said, it's our major gateway. It was modeled after the Schiphol Airport in 1977. But since then, there was actually a plan for phased development of other terminals. So we have Terminal E and D there. We ought to have gone to F, GH and all that, like you have in Schiphol. But since 1977, unfortunately, we were stuck with Wing E and Wing D. And since then, the traffic actually overwhelmed the facility. The number of people that was projected to come into Nigeria on a daily basis actually quadrupled, but we did not have corresponding upgrade of infrastructure to meet that kind of traffic. So over the years, the facility and the infrastructure actually deteriorated, and that's why I'm sure recently you saw videos of a foreigner who made videos of conveyor belts, of the heat you face when you come into the arrival hall and all of that. That is for the old terminal. And when people were tagging me and saying, "Okay, I'm gonna look at your airport, how it is," I simply replied that, I mean, that is why we want to rebuild the airport. There's no fuse about it. We actually have started. If you go there now, you see CCECC. They have moved to sites. They are making temporary arrangement to where we can move passengers and the airlines to, and the airline desk that are still using the old airport, where we can move them to. Because you see, you cannot just shut down the whole terminal of an airport. It's not possible. It's going to be chaos. So we are in the process of making a temporary arrangement as to where we are going to accommodate passengers and the airlines for now, whilst we are rebuilding that old terminal. For the new terminal in Lagos, that one is functional, the one that was built by also CCC, the Chinese, and that is the Terminal B. That one we have, I'm sure you've seen the e-gates there. The e-gates have been a cooperation between aviation and interior. Since we came into office, myself and my brother in interior, Tunji Ojo, we have cooperated fully. In fact, in some projects that were stalled in aviation and interior before, I'll just reveal this to you, they have been because of the constant conflict over 20 years between aviation and interior. Because once at the airport, aviation wants to claim. Once it has to do with passengers ingress and egress, aviation, interior will say, no, it's our duty. So it has always been a toss between aviation and interior. And because of that, so many things were not done at the airports. But when my brother came and myself came into office, Tunji Ojo, we sat down and said, look, listen, it's for the good of Nigerians. Let's cooperate to do this. And that is why, in cases where we are doing our own, he cooperated with us. In cases where they are doing their own in interior, we cooperated with them. And that's the development of e-gates and those fine, biometric things you see at the airports now in Lagos, at the new terminal. So the new terminal is actually functional. We are still going to expand it. We are still going to make it more usable, because right now there are one or two design errors we noticed in the new upgrade coming. And then the new, of course, the old one, we're going to totally strip it down and then remodel it. Now, for the other airports in the country, the other international airports and other smaller airports, we are running them at a loss. So let me be very open and frank to Nigerians. We are actually running those airports at a loss. We buy diesel every month, running into billions of naira for those airports. And in some of the airports, maybe only one flight arrives a day. Okay, the revenue, the non-aeronautical revenues we generate from those airports. By non-aeronautical revenues, I mean revenues having to do with those shops you see. When you go into an airport, you see a canteen, you buy rice before you board, you buy biscuits and all of that. Those are non-aeronautical. We raise money from those shops. Those shop owners pay us. But the aeronautical revenues are revenues paid by airlines for navigational services. When they arrive, the signal they receive to arrive, the parking, the park or the terminal, they pay for all of that. They pay fund for all of that. Those are aeronautical revenues. So the non-aeronautical revenues are not enough to run those airports. All over the world these days, aeronautical revenues are not enough to run airports. And that is why you go to so many airports, you see fantastic, cafes, you see maybe conference centers, you see five-star hotels. Those are the things that raise revenues for those airports to run, because aeronautical revenues are not just enough. So how do we then maximize the kind of space we have? For example, in Akure Airport, go to Akure Airport, you see massive land around Akure Airport. At times run into miles, just bushes, but they are the airport's land. What do you do about Ilorin? What do you do about Jos, for example? On and on, I can keep naming all these federal airports. What do we do to maximize the non-aeronautical revenues? Why can't we use those spaces for some kind of five-star hotels, for conference centers that people can come and do their conferences at and all that. Government does not have the revenue and the kind of structure to do all of that now. So we want to give it out to private individuals for a number of years, 20 years, 15 years, 30 years, as the case may be, run them at a profit and government will still benefit. We have so many proposals on the table now for such airports so that government can remove its hands. So all the revenues we are making from Lagos, Abuja, and Kano, we are pouring them into those airports. At the end of the day, the revenues, the profits we are making, they disappear because we're just subsidizing those other small airports. They are not making enough profits for us. So that is why the president mandated us and the minister of coordination of economy that look, any airport not making profit, give them out to private individuals, concession them. All right. And so Enugu is gone. We've concession Enugu. Port Harcourt has been approved. We're in the process of dotting the I's and crossing the T's in terms of the agreements we are signing with concessionaires. And all the other airports are up for concession. All the other smaller airports, they are up. We're calling on international investors and local investors and all that. Come and invest. Come and develop this Erythropolis for us. Develop them into Erythropolis, proper Erythropolis. Use them to raise revenues for themselves and also for the federal government. So I'm laying it bare to Nigerians so that we're not hiding anything. This is our roadmap in terms of infrastructure, developing the airports across the country. At times you see the toilets are bad in all these smaller airports. You are traveling from one city to the other city, you go to the toilets, they are decrepit. We are struggling to even, run the air conditioning because you send money to these places, they repair the air conditioners, they break down again, you send again the next month. They have, so when you just like pouring water into a basket, all right? And then how do you then continue to do that? So for these things to be run efficiently in terms of the facilities, the carousels, the lifts, the escalators, the toilets, the chillers, we have to bring in private people to run all of this. So we are in the process of doing that. But for Lagos, we have decided to do it ourselves because it's the major gateway. But the others are up for concession.
All right. Thank you very much, sir, Honorable Minister. If you're just joining us, our topic for today is the federal government's roadmap for sustainable air transport, a transformative plan designed to strengthen aviation safety, security, and efficiency across Nigeria. Honorable Minister, let's talk about airline operational reliability, and it's very critical. So, what is the ministry doing to help the local airlines meet safety standards and improve reliability? And are there new partnerships or financing models to support this?
All right. For you asked about the private operators, right?
Yes, the local operators. Yes.
Okay, so let me explain it thoroughly to Nigerians to understand where we stand on that. Now, in the whole of Africa, almost all the airlines you hear about in Africa are run by their governments. They're either supported by or run by their governments. Rwandan Air, Maroc, Egypt Air, South African Air, Tunisian Air, Ethiopian Air, of course, which is the biggest in Africa, and on like that. All of these are owned by national governments. I can be bold to say that perhaps apart from Ethiopian airline, and I'm saying this publicly, and they can come and challenge me, almost all of them are subsidizing their airlines. They're not running them for profit.
Oh.
They are not. They are really not running them for profit. Many governments around the world, they have removed their hands from running national airlines because it is really capital intensive and it cannot thrive in a bureaucracy. Let's get it clear. You cannot run an airline under a bureaucracy. It will come down. That is why Nigeria Airways came down. Half of the passengers in Nigeria Airways at that time going to London are government officials. They're not paying. They're not paying. If an airline wants to take off, they are calling you that a governor is coming or a minister is coming, so you delay the aircraft for 1 hour. Because everybody working there, they are civil servants. You dare not take off. You cannot take off. You are the pilot, the civil servant, the crew people, even the people directing and giving signals to the aircraft to take off, which is the NAMA people, the TOA, people at the navigation, they are also civil servants. So how dare they disobey and say a minister is coming, the minister is 2 hours late, and other passengers are waiting there? They will not take off. That is how the airlines they go down. It cannot function in a bureaucracy. It's not possible. It will have to run by private, enterprise. So we are blessed in Nigeria. First of all, people should not see it as a curse that we have so much private participation in airline industry in Nigeria. Nigeria is the highest in Africa. There is no country in the entire African continent, there are 56 countries, not one. Only Nigeria has this high number of private participation in the airline business. For example, today we have active 13 AOCs, commercial airlines. 13. Meanwhile, we have given out more than 26 or so. Many of us are coming, many others are coming up to 20 something, but active ones. Ibom Air, Delta United, Air Peace, ARIC, and on like that, aero contractors, and on Exigets. We have 13 active, which is massive for the whole of Africa. Now, when I came to office and I discussed with Mr. President, I said, look, if we don't support these people, then why am I minister? Because they are the industry, they are the aviation industry. They make up the aviation industry. So if I don't support them, if we don't support them, make sure that they survive, their businesses survive, why am I aviation minister? The president agreed. He said, go and find out what has been the reason for the high mortality rate of airlines over the years. The moment airline business was deregulated, because at the point it was only federal government owned, which was Nigerian Airways. But I think it was Babangida that deregulated and said, okay, everybody can. Then, just like Babangida deregulated TV, radio, in those days you listen to only NTA news or Radio Nigeria. But then Babangida deregulated most things, including the airlines. So private people came in. The way it came in, you had all kinds of airlines then that started. And they didn't survive. Zenith, remember there was Zenith Airline, Concorde, Chanchaki, Cabo Airline. More than 100 of them went down in 40 years. 100, because they were just coming into the business. They didn't know how to run the business. They thought they were just getting money, buy planes and start. But it's much more complex than that. So we now have sought to discover what was the problem. Why was there this high mortality rate among airlines? And it wasn't long before we discovered what the problem was. And we started to address these problems one by one. Insurance is one of the highest in the world, in terms of insuring our airlines, the insurance they take when they take dry leases or wet leases across the world. We try to address that. And then, of course, almost all the leases across the world and the financiers, they were not too sure of our country and the safety of their aircraft when they bring them here. They weren't too sure. And so they asked for all kinds of things from our local operators before they managed to give them aircraft. And this, of course, raised, the leasing costs. And then they pass on this leasing cost to the passengers. And as we see, high ticket prices here. But all of this starts not from the local operators. It starts from government's own failure to give them that enabling environment and to give the world the confidence that they can come here and leave their equipment here. Because, of course, all the airlines in the world are run on leased aircraft, not on 100%. All the fleets, they are run on leased aircraft, not on ownership structure. So we tried to convince the world. We went around the world, went to Lizos, we went to Dublin, we went to the financiers and said, look, listen, we have changed. They said, but your laws are still there that are not compliant with the Cape Town Convention that regulates leasing of aircraft. I said, okay, what do you want? They fell into my space because I'm a senior advocate. So this is my turf. What do you want me to change? And they said, go do 1, 2, 3, practice direction, the Cape Town Convention, blah, blah, blah. It took me very little time to convince the Chief Justice of Nigeria, the Chief Judge of the Federal High Court, Attorney General of the Federation. These are all my people in my space as a senior advocate. And then, bam, it was done. They passed the laws. We tweaked the IDERA too. IDERA is the irrevocable deregistration, export request authorization. They call it IDERA. That is the administrative procedure by which you take out aircraft when there is, a breach of a lease agreement. All right. So we did all of that, and boom, our score went up from 49.5 to 75.5%, which is the highest in Africa right now in terms of confidence. And that's why 3 weeks ago we celebrated that Air Peace got the first dry lease, which has never happened in more than 15 years. Nobody will ever bring a dry lease here. Nobody. Dry lease means that they will give you an aircraft. Go and do what you like with it. We have confidence. No crew, no control. Take. When you make profit, bring back our money. All right. Wet lease, they will bring their pilots. Their captain will be in control. They will never give it to you. Once you misbehave, they just go on the tarmac off. They fly it out of the country. They will never give you control. So you have to pay everything in dollars, pay salaries in dollars, pay the crew in dollars, pay the lease agreements in dollars, all the lease premiums in dollars, and all of that. So it's triple the size of a dry lease. Now, for the first time, Epis has received a dry lease. And then, of course, more and more financiers in the world and leasers are looking into Nigeria and say, hey, this can happen here. One of our airlines is taking delivery of 737 next year, early the first quarter of next year. I went there myself and stood in the gap and said, look, bring it for him. It's government is not spending money now, but we are using our sovereign, credit and sovereign look, to help the local airlines. I personally, that dry lease, I'll say it openly with the airpiece, I personally signed the guarantee. I said, look, I am the lawyer. I'm the lawyer. I'm here. If they misbehave, I will take the aircraft out of Nigeria the next day for you. They were very pleased. They wrote me very congratulatory letter and said, look, so that's what government should do. Stand in the gap, make businesses grow. And that's what we have been doing in the aviation sector. And I'm sure you have seen the sound bites coming from the local operators. Many of them, they are praising government, they are praising the president, they're excited about what the president is doing for them, and their businesses are beginning to stabilize right now. What we want to do next is to open the international routes for them. Because the more they now get aircraft, the more they have access to these equipment, they can now begin to run these international routes. And this is the biggest problem we are facing. We have bilateral service agreements with almost all the major countries in the world. For them to come here and for us to also go to their countries. But look at what is happening. Air France comes here every week, both Lagos and Abuja. We don't go to Paris. Lufthansa comes here every week, both Port Harcourt, Abuja, and Lagos. We don't go to Germany. Delta comes here every week from America. We don't go to America. United America comes here every week from America. We don't go to America. Even the African countries are taunting us. All right? Rwanda Air comes here every day. We don't go to Rwanda. Kenya Air comes here every day. We don't go to Kenya. Uganda Air comes here every day. We don't go to Uganda. South Africa Airways comes here every day. What is going on? It is the capacity of our local airlines to reciprocate. And that is why some of these airfares are too exorbitant, because they are taking advantage of our passengers, of our traffic, which is one of the largest traffic in Africa. So what do we want to do? We want to now empower the local airlines to say, look, you know what? You can compete with these big boys. Get the aircraft. What is stopping them? It's not law. It's not anything. They just don't have the equipment to run. I've approved the routes for them. I've approved everything for them to run. They don't have access to the aircrafts. Now, what we are doing is that we are empowering them. Very soon, we are going to cover all of these routes I just talked about, starting from UK. The UK was the first breakthrough we had. Because of the empowerment we gave to the airpiece, we first made the breakthrough to Gatwick, and for the next 1 year, we dug deep. There were a lot of diplomatic exchanges between myself and my counterparts in the UK, and boom, we got Heathrow. And so airpiece is flying both from Lagos and Abuja every day to both Heathrow and, of course, Gatwick. A big relief. And so British Airways has competition. Virgin has competition now on that route. What is the next? We need to open competition on the American route. We need to open competition on the Canadian route. We need to open competition on the Paris route. We need to open competition on all the routes now. But at least for that, we have started from somewhere. That is the power of the Cape Town Convention, the power of having access to dry lease. So they can access the wide bodies, in terms of leasing across the world, and begin to run these routes. That is our focus at the end of the day, to help. Just to answer your question, the focus to help the local airlines, and that's where we are going at the end of the day, and ultimately for the benefit of the traveling public in Nigeria.
Thank you very much, sir. That's really insightful. So, diving into safety, what steps are being taken to prevent insider threats and improve biometric access control for restricted areas? And then I'm asking this because I know that Nigeria is exploring drone regulation and unmanned aircraft systems. So how will these new reforms integrate the drone operations in our national into our national airspace without compromising safety?
The issue of drones is a global issue now. It's not just Nigeria. ICAO means the International Civil Aviation Organization. They're still struggling to make regulations for drones across the world. So Nigeria is not the only problem, the only country having that problem. Drones first came around the world as some very funny games that children play with. You just see them with their control. They will raise something up and all that, and they'll start controlling it in the air. It started like games, started like joke. All of a sudden, it began to grow in influence. They use it for agriculture, use it to deliver things to war-torn areas, use it to deliver things to local, rural areas. It delivers medical equipment. Drones deliver medical equipment and all that. So there are a lot of benevolent things that drones do, but they also do malevolent things. They do wicked things across the world. So they deliver arms to terrorists. They deliver so many, offensive things and dangerous things to people now too. So the world is just coming to terms with drones, not only Nigeria. So we attended